My wife was a literate woman, so she really enjoyed writing letters to a couple of pen pals. It was always her thing and I never questioned her about it. She told me a few things about what her friends were up to, but it was never anything that weird. She was always the one to get the mail too. It came while I was at work and she never failed to bring it in. I never saw the mail she received. I just assumed she would tell me if anything exciting was happening. My wife got a gym membership. I couldn't believe it, but within 5 months she lost 50 pounds. That is an extreme weight loss and she earned it. I was really enjoying her new confidence in the bedroom, but her bedroom activities gradually became less frequent. I was pretty bummed that it always seemed like she was focused on something deep in thought about daily problems or at the gym. I eventually persuaded her, but it seemed like something was on her mind. I asked her what was up and she said one of her pen pals was moving to town soon and she was nervous to meet her in person. I told her she shouldn't worry about it or feel like she has to go. I offered to go with her and she insisted that wasn't necessary because she was too nervous to change the dynamic of their relationship and was going to keep their relationship to strictly pen pals. As soon as she said this, I suddenly had a flashback of when she told me before we got married about an ex-boyfriend she had that was serving time in prison. They were together for several years and his release date wasn't until that very same year. I swear, I nearly had a heart attack. I grabbed my chest and went into the bathroom. My wife was asking me what was wrong, what was going through my head. And I asked her shakily if she was talking about her ex being released from prison. She hesitated to answer but said yes, like a deflating balloon. She looked super nervous and sweaty. I asked her what else she was hiding from me. She pretended to be innocent and clueless. But I told her I knew her for 8 years and she wasn't going to get any lies past me. She said that he already got out and she already saw him several times, even worse. She could be pregnant and wasn't sure who the father was. I steadied myself from falling over and yelled breathlessly for her to get out. I couldn't even look at her. I couldn't believe she was despicable enough to do this disgusting thing. She just admitted to. She pleaded with me not to leave her because she wasn't sure who the father was. And if it was my baby, we should keep our family together. I told her she was nuts for thinking that sleeping with her ex-felon boyfriend was forgivable. We had no idea who the father was and that was horrible. I eventually got her outside along with some clothes and crap she owned. She was sitting out there for a while, but when I checked the 5th time she was gone. I didn't know what she was going to do, but I honestly hoped she wouldn't go to the felon over the next 3 months. She tried calling me, leaving me emotional voicemails and texting to ask for money. She was staying with the felon. She wouldn't admit it was his baby until I told her I wouldn't give her money either way. Then she told me it was his. She said he drank a lot and she felt like it was only a matter of time until he went back to prison. Well, before he got in trouble with the law again, he got in trouble with her. He slept with several other women and didn't try to be discreet about it at all. He didn't respect her at all and it was painfully clear. He didn't consider her to be anything close to a wife. She started calling me sorrowfully every week. She said she had no idea her life was going to end up like this. She admitted that she blamed herself and her stupid mistake. I told her that admitting she made a mistake or several was the first step to making smarter decisions. She asked me what was going to happen to her and I wish I could have prepared her for what was to come. She was dumped and kicked out by her felon lover. 4 months pregnant. Shortly after that, he was taken back to prison while hosting a party with illegal things. She told me on a voicemail that she was taken into a women's shelter, but it was first come first serve each night. So sometimes she failed to get there early enough and had to sleep on a park bench if she couldn't find a new place to live. She was at risk of having her baby taken by Child Protective Services. I was nervous for her but didn't involve myself too much with it. I knew she was no longer my responsibility and things have a way of sorting themselves out somehow. I wish she would have been honest and appreciated the new life she created with me instead. It's like she wanted to have a relationship with both of us. She made several poor decisions by going behind my back and lying. So many times she lost the great life we had together. Wow. I am so sorry. Your wife betrayed you and kept in contact with her ex without telling you. Not only that, but she had so many chances to come clean or stop communicating with him. She should have gone to the gym to improve her health and spice up her marriage with you. It's a shame she didn't realize how good she had it before giving it all up. I'm not sure what he was sent to prison for, but usually it's a good idea to consider that fact before jumping into a serious relationship. Thankfully, there are a lot of ways to keep tabs on where a significant other is. It's a shame. It's even necessary. A person who's ready to commit to a long-term relationship should have to prove it by dating for a long time while remaining independent. I know life throws all kinds of different situations out there, but that's why it's wise to be slow to move in with someone or get married. Thank you for sharing your story with us. I wish you all the best going forward. Now, let's get into our second story for today. My wife and her friends took 6 months to plan a vacation to the Netherlands without me. I worked a lot, but I encouraged her to go with her friends. None of them had significant others. And this was her thing from the beginning. I wasn't going to tell her no, because it was her decision. Even though I was her partner, I never thought she put herself in a situation to cheat on me, but I was wrong. She just happened to be communicating with a man from the Netherlands for longer than it took to plan the trip. When I was expecting her home, she called me and told me that as hard as it was for her to do it, she was leaving me. Well, technically, she had already left me. She was going to stay in the Netherlands. I was shocked before I could ask many questions. She told me she met someone there and instantly fell in love. She no longer cared for the life she built with me. I couldn't believe what she was saying. She was my wife and we just talked about conceiving a child, but she took advantage of my money to leave me for someone else after pressuring her for answers and accusing her of leaving her husband for a stranger. She admitted that she had been talking with him for almost a year before planning the trip. Our divorce was pretty straightforward. She left me and suddenly moved to a different country. So I got to keep the house and didn't owe her alimony. She called me a month later, sobbing and remorseful. She said AP kicked her out. She had nowhere to go and no way to get a loan. She begged me to help her get back to the country and assured me I'd never hear from her again unless it was to pay me back for the cost of the ticket. I pretended to think about it so she could go on about how stupid she was. It was music to my ears that I told her no. I would never help her or speak to her again because she was a horrible person. She wailed in misery as I hung up and blocked her number. Her family called me confused. 1 week later they told me they finally got a call from her and she said some crazy stuff. They wanted to confirm with me after confirming that we did divorce. They asked me if she was actually stranded there. I told them I wasn't sure because she was none of my concern anymore. Since she left the country to be with AP, they were stunned and silent and could only ask me if I was sure. I said yes. And they apologized to me saying they couldn't believe their own daughter was capable of this despicable behavior. They also explained that she told them she was stranded with nowhere to live because I left her there while we were on vacation, which led her into the arms of the man she was staying with who recently kicked her out. I told them that wasn't true, but it was fine if they didn't believe me because our divorce was final. They were more willing to believe me than her. They said she asked them for a plane ticket home because she didn't have a dime to her name and no connections or approvals for a loan. I was just as disappointed in her as they were for her poor decisions and complete disrespect for her family. She didn't even care to update them about her life or ask for advice before getting into this situation. They told me they were going to help her, but it would be the last time they ever spoke to her because they were so betrayed and hurt. They planned to disown her like she was so willing to do to them. And me, I was glad to hear it but tried to sound indifferent. It wasn't until another year passed that I actually heard from my ex-wife. She was back in the country, but completely alone. It was February when she left me a voicemail saying she needed me back. She was crying and didn't know where she was going. Call me what you will. I never called her back. We might as well be strangers in life. Now I've been healing and building my own fortune. I guess my life would best be compared to Principal Lewis from American Dad. I have hope for the future instead of bitterness for women. I know my experience was crazy. But if I take the time, I need to find a good woman worth keeping. It's unlikely to happen again. I mostly live gratefully without expecting anything while accepting good things with humility. I am so sorry. Your wife abandoned you to move in with AP. I know she conspired to leave you for him. If they hit it off on the vacation, you can't just leave the life you knew while keeping it secret from everyone and then expect family to be there when you need them. Life decisions bring consequences. So make sure your decisions are as considerate of others as possible. She didn't think anything through and was a fool to think this could turn out. Well, chances are, it's never a good idea to give up your family for something that might not work out. Having a secret romantic interest while in a marriage is nothing but trouble, and a respectable spouse would never put themselves in that situation. If you're comfortable in your marital home, appreciate who you have and avoid stabbing them in the back. I wish you nothing but the best going forward. Thank you all for taking the time to listen to today's stories. If you enjoyed listening,